All right, so today we're going to start our There Are No Children Here essay. It's really going to mirror what we did with Mice and Men. You have to choose one theme from There Are No Children Here and explain how this theme is demonstrated throughout the novel. You could choose for your body paragraphs 3 different characters to write about, or 3 different ways one theme is demonstrated. I'm going to say that again. Each of your body paragraphs can be about a separate character and how that character displays a theme, or you can just pick one theme and write about how it's demonstrated 3 different ways. So basically the premise is that you have to choose a theme and then write about it for 5 body paragraphs. Now remember, there's a difference between topic and theme, right? So if you look, prejudice, coming of age, individual versus society, these are all topics that you can look at, but that's not a theme, right? You have to take a topic and turn it into a theme. So I'm going to say this one more time. Your essay's purpose is to choose a theme from There Are No Children Here and explain how it's demonstrated throughout the novel. Choose either 3 characters and explain how they're demonstrating one theme, or explain how one character demonstrated a theme in 3 ways. Okay, so you got those 2 choices. And again, there's a few topics here. I think one theme that we discussed a lot was that children that grow up in a violent environment often have negative consequences to their upbringing or something along that line. You can take that and reword it and run with it if that's what you want to do, because we have tons of annotations that probably tie back to that. Remember that you have to have strong text support. I'm asking for minimum 4 quotes per body paragraph to get, B, but I'm really asking for 5 to 6 quotes per body paragraph for an A-level paper. You do need to complete the graphic organizer that I provided this time, and I want you to do that before you write. So you need to collect your quotes starting tonight, write your intro, and then we're going to get into writing the body once I know you've got all those quotes collected and you put them into your graphic organizer. So real quick, just jumping forward, here's an example attention getter. Now I'm going to put everything in red that I'm talking about on all the slides. I'm going to go through the intro paragraph and briefly talk about the body paragraph. But again, this is all the same as of Mice and Men, except it's a different topic. So here's an example attention getter. In the city of Chicago, the residents have to fear from dying from violence as much as from disease. We saw a TED talk about that. Violence claimed the lives of over 500 people in Chicago in 2018, and more than 1,400 people were shot. Well, that is a very shocking statistic, and it's true. Issue is you need to have a citation, right? So I'm going through this quickly and just reminding you need to have a citation there and a works cited page. Something like that would bring your reader in to be like, wow, the violence in Chicago was terrible. We need to do something about it. How did it affect these kids in this book, right? So you got to get an attention getter that's maybe a quote or a shocking statistic or something like that. All right. So that was my attention getter. Now I have my buffer sentence. Well, what is that? It's the sentence that follows your attention getter. So when we look at the buffer here, I continue my thought. Witnessing this violence can cause great harm to anyone, especially to youth. Children that experience the violence, such as Lafayette, Terrence, and Farrow, may be forced to grow up too quickly. Now wait, I'm going to pause myself. Witnessing this violence can cause great harm to anyone, especially the youth. That's a buffer sentence. As we go into the next sentence, that's really your thesis, right? So it says children that experience violence, such as Lafayette, Terrence, and Farrow, can be forced to grow up too quickly, and this can have tremendous consequences on their future. I would really like you to write a theme that is probably something similar to that, unless you go some other way with your essay, okay? As far as your preview sentences, you want to mention each character you're going to write about in your body paragraphs. The disturbing events that Lafayette experienced had dire effects on his life, as he was the most affected by the violence. Okay, so there's preview sentence number 1. Body paragraph number 1 is going to be about Lafayette. Preview sentence number 2, Terrence turned to gangs and armed robberies as a result of his environment, which landed him in jail. A little specific, right? But that's my body paragraph number 2 and preview sentence number 2. And then we get to the last preview here, which is Farrow witnesses small children. I'm just going to exit this real quick, just because it's being a little bit where you can't. Okay, so Farrow witnessed small children such as himself getting harmed from a young age, and this brought on PTSD as well as other nervous disorders. So that would be my 3rd paragraph, which would be about Farrow. Okay. Now, as far as a transition sentence at the end of the body paragraph, You want to have something that's more universal, but then leads into your first body paragraph. So the many acts of violence witnessed by these children has negatively impacted all their lives, especially Lafayette, whose life has been altered forever, right? So first body paragraph is going to be about Lafayette. So remember, for your intro, you have to have intention getter, buffer, thesis, 3 preview sentences, and a transition sentence. This is all on Canvas for you, by the way. And again, we did the same thing with the mice and men. And this is that graphic organizer that we had for that. And each preview sentence was about a different character. One was about Crooks, Curly, and Lenny here. So really, if you have your old essay, pull it up and look at it like I'm looking at this and kind of see what you wrote and remind yourself on how to organize this. So again, from Of Mice and Men, here's an attention getter. George and Lenny may dream a little dream of owning a farm, but they don't get very far in their to-do list before it all crumbles in heartbreaking failure. As Crooks points out, all ranch hands dream of owning a farm. It's their version of 2.5 kids in a white picket fence. Unfortunately, white picket fences are in short supply during the Great Depression. And then I lead into my thesis. So again, your attention getter has to be something that leads to your thesis, but also something that brings your reader into your essay. And again, I got my 3 preview sentences in different colors here. In your body paragraphs, just take those preview sentences and reword them to use as your topic sentences. So, for example, in my intro, I had the disturbing events that Lafayette experienced had dire effects on his life as he was the most affected by the violence. I reworded that, and that would be the first sentence of my body paragraph, my first body paragraph. Lafayette's traumatic experiences and interactions with his negative friends caused him to be the most affected by the violence at Horner. So I took this from my preview, turned that into the topic sentence at the start of my body paragraph, and then your body paragraph is pretty much just taking each quote and explaining how that quote supports your theme. How does that quote support your theme? Okay, don't explain the quote and how it's in the book. Don't reword the book. Don't restate the book. We have to analyze, right? Analyze, not retell, analyze. Okay, and quote introductions. As far as quote introductions go, make sure that you put something, like Melinda states, or David shows, or as Terrence is walking down the hallway, he notices, or Melinda acts out by, or this one time when Joe is at the office. You need to put the quotes in context, and you need to have what's called quote introductions, meaning don't start a sentence with quotations. It's out of context. You need to put it within context by putting a quote introduction, leading us into your quotation. So have something like, Pharaoh said, or when they were running down the hallway at Horner, shots were rang out, and quote, like, you need to make sure you're doing that. And please put page numbers as well. Okay, we'll get more into the body paragraphs as we move into tomorrow. But for right now, again, you need to have a thesis, an intro that's organized the way I gave you, and take that those preview sentences and turn them into your topic sentences for your body paragraphs. And then we're just going to follow the Power Paragraph Organizer where you have your quote and then explain how it ties into your thesis. All right, good luck.